Alright, y'all, we're back with another Tower God New World video. So today we're going to be showcasing my account, and we're going to be talking about all the things that happened throughout the lifespan of this account that we've been through, and how I managed to get to my current power level, which is going to be 105 million CP. All right. So I'm going to be discussing things like what we focused on the early game, and then how they ended up turning out to be more towards the late game, and if they were relatively useful investments or if they were kind of like wasted investments. First off, we're going to go up to the characters. So as you know, when you start off, you always want to have a specific team, whether you kind of want to choose one based on color. And of course, the two most dominant characters at the time of the release of the game were yellow and purple. Purple for its high firepower, and then yellow for obviously Evan, and Hots for their survivability, and they could still output a lot of damage. So first off, we're going to be talking about the SSR pluses. So we have a total of 6 SSR pluses that came out on release, being Evan, Mashani, Dada Mashani, Karaka, Ivankel, and Dada Zahard. And of course, the best pick out of all of those would be Evan. So now when you have your choices, since Evan is most likely going to be your main pick out of all the SSRs when you do first start the game, the yellow team always obviously seemed like the best way to go, especially when people started building out, characters like Hot, or, you have Bomb. They give you Bomb for free. And then you have characters like Wang and Shirisu. You just had a good overall steady balance with this team. So relatively, I feel like when you're starting off in the game and you're trying to focus on certain things, I feel like you probably want to start with yellow, because yellow is it's very powerful. Like, you have Evan, who's literally going to carry you through, and then having that synergy of having the mono team, the mono yellow team, is just an added bonus on top of that. Of course, you're going to want to get Hot, because Hot is probably the best carry in the game currently for just pushing, simply due to the fact that he has good output on power and damage, and then he also has survivability. Granted, of course, you want to make sure that you have his exclusive equipment unlocked. Once you push a little bit and you get up his power, you already know he's gonna be out there. He's gonna be doing the damage, doing the carrying, doing the surviving, everything. He's just gonna be doing it all. And then you have Evan to back him up, and then Bomb to boost his damage and his defense. So relatively, when I was starting out, I thought that yellow would be like the best way to go, because yellow has like a lot of these characters. They're like free. It's an easier investment, especially if you start off with Evan. All you have to really do is just pull for Hots, and then you'll have Hots, Bomb, and Evan. And relatively, that's like your whole team is like right there. Those three were your team. Now, when starting in the early game, there's a couple things to consider. Now, whether if you're a free to play, or if you are a whale, or if you're a goldfish or a dolphin or whatsoever, if you're free to play, this might not concern you. But if you do have money to spare, at least try to get one of these packs. I'm pretty sure it was cheap. I think it was like a couple dollars or something. Nothing too much. It's a very light spend. But if you don't want to spend, I understand. That's up to you. But now, if you're a goldfish or a dolphin, these packs, they're absolute must buy, just because of the output of Suspendium that you can get within a month. Just getting this, obviously, you'll have your instant, like as soon as you purchase, you'll get these, but you'll be getting a constant amount of 3,800 Suspendium daily if you buy all three, right? Now, if you total that up to, the 30 days that you're going to have this active, that's quite a lot. That's actually more. I believe that is a rotation and a half. So that's actually really good for $100. A rotation and a half. That, I mean, you can't really lose there. So if you are a whale, or if you're a goldfish or a dolphin, these are kind of the things you want to focus on, because I mean, this is kind of standard in a lot of your games. So you're just gonna probably want to be focusing on this, because having Suspendium is going to be helping you out for a lot of things that we'll also be talking about in a sec. Now you have your dailies. Of course, you'll get your free ticket daily. And then these aren't like crazy important. Like, you probably won't buy any of these unless you're like a super whale, like you just buy out everything. So here's the thing: if you're a dolphin, or if you're I guess a goldfish probably wouldn't be buying this, but if you're a dolphin, before beating chapter 20, which I know a lot of you players aren't going to be getting there, you're going to be wanting to focus your spending on this loot XP amplification 24 hours. This is what I've been using all the way up until, you know, getting to chapter 21. Now, it's not a must buy, but it does help the progression speed up a little bit because the process is going to take quite a while. You're going to be idling a lot. You're probably going to get, you know, you're going to be hitting a few walls on the way, probably take you time. You might have to wait even a week just to continuously use your support. But relatively, that's probably going to what you're going to want to be focusing on is the XP pack 3. Now, I know there's a couple people that have been focusing on like coin packs because you do need a lot of gold. Bear in mind, you do need a lot of gold, but I don't think it's necessary whatsoever because you can get them from the workshop store. We got the season pass. If you're a dolphin, buy all of these, all three. I don't care if you're a dolphin, buy all three. There's no reason you shouldn't have all of these. These give you so much for the price that they cost. I believe it's like $12 for each one, and they give you so much. Like, there's no reason not to get this. This will speed you up tremendously, especially the Conquest Pass. The Conquest Pass gives you so much. It gives you the Shinsu that you need to, you know, get past the walls for your Shinsu levels. When you hit your 200s, 201s, or your, you know, 150, 160 to 161s. So this is going to be super important because most of your power is going to be coming from your Shinsu levels. Growth, you don't really have to bother with these. They aren't super important. Buying the adventure packs, they're pretty good if you're a dolphin, so you probably want to buy all those. You have all these your hot deals. If you spend, probably just get the ones that are Shinsu. They're quite a little bit pricey, but those are the ones you kind of want to go for. And then obviously you're going to have your special event packs. They'll vary, of course, as time goes on with each event. So, yeah. Now that I covered what the characters you want to focus on and packs that may be beneficial to you, depending on how much you spend, we could go into your Shinsu links. Now, these are going to be the most important, the key factor in how far you get up on your floors, because the amount of like modifiers that they give you, the percentages that increase as you level up are so tremendous that they increase your damage output. They'll help you get those walls extremely quickly. You'll get over those walls. So of course, you have your soul crystals that you get from summoning. Now, they are important, but not as important as you think. I'm going to explain to you why. You can get your limit breaks, right? As you can see, my current percentage right now is 46,522%. But if I limit break, I'll have 46,982%, right? That's not a big increase, but the main important factor to consider here is that you will be increasing your max level cap, which is 300 to 320. For a lot of players who aren't going to be spending money, this isn't going to matter too much because you're probably not going to be getting that high in the first place anyways. I'm not even that high, and I spent, you know, a relatively decent amount of money, so you don't really have to worry too much about limit breaking. I feel like you should probably be saving your orbs. Worst case, maybe just get them all to A, and then just hold off for a little bit. Because it's not a super important thing that you want to be focusing on. Your main focus will always be your loot XPs, your Shinsu, and gold. These are the main focuses that you want to be focusing on when you're trying to get stronger, because these will give you the main increase to your account power level overall. Let's see if I don't think I could really show here, because I don't really have enough Shinsu. But basically right here, as you can see, you have 46,522%, right? Just leveling it up from that next gap will be 54,430%. Of course, granted, how your total account power level works is it grabs your lowest Shinsu level from your entire team and then applies it to your whole account. If you have them all at the same level, then it's obviously 200 for me is going to be my lowest. You'll see that you'll have a huge increase to your overall account power level. I'll give you a good example right here. So I'm at 105 right now. But previously, when I was doing this, I was at 200, 200, 200, 200, and 180, right? I was previously 50 million, right? But the moment I got that 180 to 200, every character on my account lowest Shinsu level is now 200, so that is your overall account power level just increased by a huge spike. So it's not like super important when you compare it to your actual team CP. Your team CP is more important than your overall account CP, but a lot of people like to use that as a way to, judge how much you're playing or how much you're investing. That's kind of how people want to use it as an evaluation, basically. Do make sure that when you're leveling them up, you level them up by 20 and you get them to the next level. So if you're at 161, right, and all your characters are at 161, you push the character all the way to 181, like your main DPS, your main carry. That way they can absolutely destroy the enemies to help you push. And then you start focusing one by one. You go through each character to 161 or 181. Let's say these are all at 201. And then I decide to get HOTS at 221. Now the next character I'm going to do is I'm going to get my tank to 221. It doesn't have to necessarily be the tank, but you'll do one by one. Don't spread out your resources. Although spreading out your resources does increase your overall combat power, that's just a visual. It's not really that important. What matters is your team power, and trying to focus that one character that's going to be carrying you through is the best way to go about. Now, let me talk about the characters that you do be focusing on as soon as you do start in the game. So now, first off, you have Evan. He's good early, mid, and late game. I don't think he's fallen off even one bit. In PvP, he has kind of like sometimes he kind of feels iffy, but overall, most of the time, he still works just as you would expect. The immortal buff is cracked, so that's good. HOTS, he is good early game, but not too much. I think Wang is overall superior to him in early game, but when you get to mid and late game, he will carry you. He won't be your main DPS in late game because there's going to be so much better late game DPSs. Like, you have her, and she's an absolute unit. Wang is also pretty good late game as well. Late game, his damage isn't like as much as it is previously, but he's good. He's been good for me. He was a good investment for me. Bomb, he was an amazing investment. He's not bad whatsoever. He is a support character. Support characters are the one characters, like the one roles that just never seem to kind of like fall off. When they do fall off, it's just because there's another character that does it slightly better than them. But their main focus is never to do DPS. It's always to do supporting, and you can't really go wrong with them because you knew their role was originally for supporting. So he was good investment from the beginning to the end, from early to late game, and I use him inside my guild boss teams. So he's amazing. Then you have Rack. Now I did put quite a bit of stars into him, but once you started to get HOTS up there, he really didn't feel like he was necessary for the team. Of course, in most case scenarios, a lot of people are actually using Data Macheni and Data Zahard as your overall tank units, if you will, because they have iframes and invincibility and evasion and all that. So it's just more reliable than Rack. I mean, sometimes occasionally I'll switch them, but I don't really think he was that much of a crazy investment for me. There was just much better characters that will fulfill his role. Shibisu, he's not really that good early game, but he's like mid or late game, not for floors. I feel like I see him more useful in damage rankings, mock battles, underground, stuff like that. Like if you're trying to output as much DPS as possible. The attack bonus is good and the magic resistance down and all that is good, but since it only targets one character, it's kind of like you probably wouldn't use it in a scenario where there's multiple enemies. You kind of want to use it on bosses, like when you're bossing. So good investment. Now we're going to go on to the darks. I kind of have like a soft spot for the darks. A lot of the whales currently at the higher end, like end game, they don't really like the darks. The darks are kind of like iffy. So we'll talk about it right now. So Macheni, she's the first dark. Like she's going to be your main carry DPS for darks. Like you want her up there. Obviously, she's going to be very difficult to get because she's an SSR plus. Getting dupes will be very tough, and then granted, you also need to unlock her exclusive equipment, and it's just a lot bigger investment. But she is going to be your main carry for your purple team. And then you have Kun. Now I invested in him in a little bit, but I don't think you have to invest that much in him. He is just your support character. It's not. Like I don't think he gives a major support, but like it's pretty good, and you still use him, of course, just for his passive, just for the attack buff for purple. So you're just gonna use him on his team simply for that. Sometimes his case kind of gets in the way of your runs when you're pushing, but it is what it is. I only got him enough to max all his skill levels because that is very important. Warrior, she's just amazing. Her release, she was amazing. On paper, she was amazing. Right now, she's amazing. Early, mid, late game, bossing, pushing floors, everything. She is 100% one of the best characters to invest to without fail. There's so much in her kit that she provides for the team: shielding, crit rate, swiftness, attack buff, everything. She does it all. She's a support, but she does so much buffing and does so much output and has good survivability that you can use her as your main carry for a red team if you don't have the ult. That's just how crazy she is. So she was a good investment. Now you have your workshop store, of course. This is what we're going to talk about next. And let's see, I don't even think I have any refreshes, but what you're looking for in this shop, this is super important, and you probably want to be doing this at all stages of the game when you can. When you see Shinsu, buy. Do not hold back. Buy the Shinsu. I know it costs suspendium and all that, but you know the Shinsu is going to be your biggest wall once you start getting later in the stages. I mean, do keep in mind if you are free to play over time, you might get wall blocked a little bit, so you probably have more time to actually generate the resources you need to get past the wall, since you're not spending, so you're not speeding up your progression a crazy amount. But if you are, then you're going to be needing to buy these Shinsu because you're going to need them to get past these walls and get your Shinsu levels up. Your main focus in the store will be targeting gold, Shinsu, and loot XP. You do not want to miss any of those. You want all three of them. Now, loot XP you won't see in the store until chapter 21, floor 21, excuse me. So that's not going to be important to most of you players currently, but if you are a whale and you're already, pretty high up there, maybe floor 19, floor 20, try to push past floor 20, because once you get into 21, you'll unlock it and it'll be in the shop, and it's a major bonus to you and everybody. That's how a lot of these whales, they increase the gap so large. Like I even seen a player who's at 1 billion now. So you already know that's how they've been getting so high, because now loot XP isn't an issue anymore. In fact, I have so much loot XP. I have like a ton of them in my bag. Like I have 50. I get 150 mil, but I don't need it right now because I'm capped by Shinsu. So it's important to have gold. You always want gold and Shinsu. Later on, you'll be able to buy loot XP, but for early progression, if you're trying to boost up and you're a spender, you want to buy those loot XPs. Now, I've seen a couple people say buy weapons. Do not buy weapons. Please do not buy weapons. I get that they're there and they're easily accessible and they increase your output, but I feel like it's such a big waste. You're better off getting over the wall with your Shinsu levels than buying this, because once you get to a certain stage, you'll be able to collect them idly. And once you start collecting them idly, you're saving yourself currency. You don't want to be spending currency on random things, like spending currency on this that you're going to be getting for free. So I just don't see any value into it. So just don't spend on this. Like if you're a whale, go ahead. It doesn't matter to you. You probably do it anyways, or a dolphin. But I probably wouldn't spend on this because your suspendium is valuable to you. Save them for refreshing and getting gold, Shinsu, and XP. Because those are the main ways how I got to 100 mil CP. Alliance, all the Alliance coins you get, just continuously save them over time. So that way when your Alliance equipment start upgrading, because if you're, I believe it's based off your Alliance level. So if your Alliance level is a lot lower, you don't really get good gear from here. But once you start to hit to a certain level, I believe it's 6 or 5. Once you get to that level and your Alliance level, you'll have like better gear. You'll have orange, and then this is when you want to be using your Alliance coins. Now you have your arena coins. This one's kind of iffy. Now you have the origin orb, the origin orbs, and those are a good place to do an investment, as well as they increase a lot of percentages like attack percent, defense percent, all for that specific color. So what I do is I probably, every time you get enough coins from arena, just whatever color you're focusing on, whether it be yellow, purple, red, or maybe possibly blue or green in the future, depending if they get better, you would buy out these every time you buy these out. There's at times where these might be important to you, like if you're trying to get exclusive equipment up, like EE and all that. But I believe just focusing on these first is probably the power move. Granted, you have enough soul crystals. If you don't have enough soul crystals, but you're getting plenty of coins, you could probably just buy these exclusive equipment enhancement materials. Gems. This is late game. A lot of you players are probably not going to be having this unless you've maxed a lot of characters. Because once you max a lot of characters, then you'll start getting crystals, and then you can start exchanging these crystals for various items. For me, I'm obviously just going to save for an S-Star Plus because they're much more difficult to obtain for the blues, and then the purples the same as well. I will be buying. Now it says sold out here, but I believe this is shared between the whole server, so the whole server can see this character, and whoever buys it while it's on sale, they have it, and then it'll be sold out to everybody else. Research lab is not super important, but I'd say just when you do get to this, I believe it's after you unlock underground, which is floor 12-20, I believe. I don't know, it's been quite a while, but once you do unlock this, just focus on the characters that you have the most of, or wherever your main DPS is at, your main carry. Now, of course, those are going to be the main things that you're going to want to be trying to do daily. Every time the workshop store, you come in, you do your dailies, you're doing your workshop and everything, you're doing your mock battle and everything. Always go to the workshop store. That's going to be your main focus. The workshop store is always going to be your main focus. You want to get these golds, you want to get these Shinsus, and you want those XPs. Those are going to increase your account power like crazy. And then, of course, focusing on one specific team. You're going to get to the point where you hit 16-4, and 16-4 will require you to have 2 dedicated teams. And then, of course, when you get even higher, you're going to need 3 dedicated teams to be able to, push. So that's why you're going to want to primarily focus on whether it be yellow or purple. Or red, because red is actually cracked now too. So you just want to focus on one color. Once you focus on that one specific color, then you would focus on the next color. So in my opinion, if you were to start out, I'd probably start out with yellow because you're going to be using Evan, so it's going to be easier to build since you already get bomb. Then for your second team, I'd probably do red. The reason I'd do red is because you have Huarayun. Huarayun is going to be the second character you want to invest a lot of your resources into. If you go dark, you're going to have the issue where, yes, you're going to need a third team later, but you're not going to need them until a lot later. And I feel like dark, you can push them aside for later because their main DPS is Macheni, and you're just going to need a lot of investment for her before she actually starts working efficiently. She does a lot of damage. She does more than a lot of characters. It's just she requires a lot more to get started. So you just kind of want to push them out the way and just work on to, starting off with probably yellow and then red. I believe those are the best way to go. Now, we have the Adventure Tower. The Adventure Tower, absolutely disgusting. As I said before, eventually you're going to need 3 teams. And it's very tough. Here's what I'm going to tell you why you're going to want to invest into multiple teams. And then I told you why you should invest in the HOTS, why you should invest in the Haryun. So first off, I'll have my first team. My first team is obviously HOTS and Wang are kind of going to be my carries for the team. Of course, now that Eon has came out, Ewa, and now that she's out, you could just use her instead of Wang. You don't need Wang. I feel like she's easier to hit the boards considering her range is out of this world and can't really miss. So she's just overall better. You probably invest into her over Wang, and then you'll have HOTS on the one team. That will be your first team, yellow. Then you're going to have your second team. Your second team is going to be a different color. Mine is purple. My Macheni, she has a lot of investment. So, of course, I'm going to run my purple. No problem. My Macheni will destroy this stage like it is piece of cake. It does not matter about the power level. Then I have my third stage. And my third stage is going to have Huarayun. She's going to be my main DPS carry. Every team, you just want to focus on that one character that's going to destroy all the enemies. And then you're going to have a bunch of other characters either supporting or surviving while that character tries to destroy the enemy team. That is basically how you push in the tower. Now, I feel like, when you are trying to push on towers, you do want to, consider your positioning, which character goes where, what enemy is the main threat on the team. So of course, granted, Wang is probably going to be the main threat here. He's probably going to be knocking out your characters. So you do want someone who will probably try to get into their backline very quickly. You could decide whether to put them on the right side so that way they get closer to him quickly while the middle holds off the middle character. Or you could have a character like Waryun who will just jump to the back line and target them and just, absolutely destroy them. Yes, there's a bunch of different ways, and of course, granted, you can also use your support characters, which are support characters, they help you push, but only use that in desperate scenarios and only use them at the end of the week. Only at the end of the week, never beforehand. Even if you're trying to push early, just save them until the end of the week because you might get a little bit stronger. You might be able to beat the stage, and then you might get to the next stage, and the next stage might be 10 times harder than the stage before. So always save until the final day of the week, and then that's when you're going to be using your support. You'll have your loot XP that I talked about earlier. Of course, it's especially good now to push as much as possible because you do have the bonus time, and the bonus time is doubling the amount of loot that you're getting, which is super important, especially if you're trying to push. If you don't wanna make the gap larger between you and if you're very competitive, if you don't want to make the gap very large, you're gonna want to try to push as quickly as possible. And that's basically a lot of the things that I did when I was starting on the game. I would just log in, try doing my stuff. Of course, you have your conquest mode, your trial areas, your mock battles, your arenas. As always, you're going to have your alliance. A lot of games, they got their alliance. Boom. If you don't have an alliance, Madness is recruiting. We are recruiting, but we are recruiting members of 50 million CP at lowest. As you can see, we have a lot of members. Above that, they're all above 50 mil. That's the average. We have members that are almost at 1 billion, 975 million, all that stuff, and if you don't need an alliance and you just want to, chat or whatever, we do talk a lot in our main channel and in general. So, if you need tips or anything, you can join as well. We'll be happy to answer any questions that are within our capabilities or what we do know. So be sure to check us out. And if you're 50 million and you kind of want to join new alliance or whatever, we do rank pretty high. Last guild boss, we ranked in the top 10, but of course, the Koreans are kind of, Giga Chads, they just spend everything, so they just overall beat you simply with their wallet, so it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically, my trip on this account. It was a pretty lengthy video, but that's basically how I got here and what I've been focusing on mainly. I believe I covered everything that is important, and that's basically what I've been doing and what I think you should be focusing on as you're progressing through the story and what is going to be more beneficial to you. And then, of course, do keep in mind, remember, only summon with summon tickets. Do not summon with gems. Do not be like me. Do not summon with gems. And save your resources. Do not go crazy with your resources. Make sure when you're investing into a new character that you are 100% sure that character is going to be useful for you in the future. We've already made that mistake in the beginning for testing. Do not do it right now. If anything, just ask someone who's more knowledgeable about it. Ask even a whale, they'll tell you, because they have so many characters, they invest in a lot of them, so they know which is actually good and which isn't. Alright, that'll be all. Peace. Stay blessed.